Barry Carr actually got me into Clean Cities 12, 13 years ago. And
You can forgive me.
I guess I can thank him for that. It's been a great run. Before I do that, unfortunately, Doug Copeland called me this morning and gave his apologies for not being able to join us today. But what he was going to talk about kind of builds on what Genevieve was talking. So Nick, if you can go to the next slide, which I think are Doug's slides. Yep, next one. So Atlantic Shores is one of two bidders that actually the BPU is due to announce their decision for the second round of offshore wind projects tomorrow. So Atlantic Shores and Ørsted are the two bidders for this current round, and the BPU is going to pick one or perhaps both of them and make that announcement tomorrow. But real quickly, Atlantic Shores is a joint venture of EDF Renewables and Shell New Energies, so significant weight behind them and significant experience, not just in offshore wind, but other renewable projects as well, including some demonstration projects using hydrogen electrolysis. Next. This is their lease area. We can go to the next one right away, Nick. And the next one. And this is just discussing the pilot project that Atlantic Shores is envisioning, should they be lucky enough to be selected tomorrow, which will include some hydrogen production. And I believe Kyle Nolan is going to speak a little bit to this, since the plan is to envision offshore wind, completely renewable offshore wind being used to generate hydrogen, which will be injected into the gas distribution system. So that is my knowledge of Doug's presentation. Nick, you can go to the next one and the next one. And Barry, I will give it to you, and it's all yours.
All right, thank you, Chuck. Can you hear me first?
We hear you just fine.
Perfect. All right, thank you. I'm Barry Carr. I'm the Executive Director of Clean Communities of Central New York, and I serve on Chuck's board. I've known him forever, and most of the other people here forever. And I appreciate you all taking your time here today. So we won't say much more about that, but hopefully Doug Copeland gets back in the groove quickly. And I want to first introduce Kyle Nolan. Kyle is a Vice President of Innovation and Business Improvement at South Jersey Industries, which is the parent company of South Jersey Gas. He has been around, not as long as me and Chuck, but around for a long time. And his efforts are to make certain that the company provides quality service, provides value to their customers and end users, and also provides a pathway to utilize their current and future infrastructure, because a lot of this is about having the infrastructure to move hydrogen around. So without further ado, go ahead, Kyle.
Thanks, Barry, and thanks, Chuck and Joanne. Really a pleasure to be here today. What a great group of panelists we have. You can go to the next slide, Nick. So as Barry mentioned, SJI is an energy services holding company, but truly we look at ourselves as a clean energy infrastructure company, and that's across the energy value chain. I think probably most people know us as a utility first and foremost, which we own and operate Elizabethtown Gas as well as South Jersey Gas. But we also have a large portion of our portfolio on the non-utility in the energy production center with renewable natural gas, fuel cells and solar, as well as landfill to energy projects, as well as energy management. So wholesale, retail, brokering business, as well as some fuel management. But today, I wanted to focus a little bit more on our utilities and really the infrastructure and how green hydrogen presents a great opportunity for us to be part of the clean energy future. Off to the left, you're looking at our service territories, and Within those service territories, we have the privilege of providing safe, clean, reliable, and affordable energy to over 700,000 customers throughout the state. We operate just about 10,000 miles of distribution and transmission pipeline between our two utilities. And something we're really proud of is in operation of that being recognized for safety and customer experience with the energy services we provide. So I know our topic is green hydrogen today, and something we're incredibly excited about. So Nick, you can go to the next slide and give you a little bit of our perspective on this. You know, decarbonization is certainly a theme that everybody's been discussing here today, and I think, you know, more recently has been a big topic in the headlines and the news at federal and state level. But it's not something new to us. It's something we've been doing and will continue to do. Really, you know, since our inception. It's always about improvement. It's always about, you know, providing that reliable energy, but also doing so in a responsible way. Whether that be infrastructure replacement programs, conversions of our own fleet, energy efficiency programs for our customers. Decarbonization truly has been a focus of ours. And, you know, that focus is really what's laid our foundation to be part of what we think is going to be the future with green hydrogen. Focusing specifically on that infrastructure and the replacement that we've done over, you know, the last probably 20 years of really, really significant investments in modernizing our system has really laid the foundation to move to these alternative fuels, whether we knew it or not at the time. You know, we were always focused on the infrastructure and how it moved natural gas. And I think because of the investments we made and because of that focus, now we're going to not need to focus just on the infrastructure, but what's flowing through it. And that's really the opportunity for these alternative fuels, whether that be hydrogen, whether that be renewable natural gas. There's a real ability now, an opportunity to decarbonize the actual fuel source flowing through that pipeline. And certainly this is all in support and quite frankly, you know, complementary to our New Jersey Energy Master Plan, as well as our own corporate goals to achieve carbon neutrality, certainly by 2050. You know, storage has been a big topic here in some of our previous presenters. And, you know, I think it's something that we really need to focus on here as we talk about green hydrogen. Renewable production is certainly scaling up. As Chuck just mentioned, the BPU tomorrow will be awarding the next tranche of offshore wind development. And we know that's going to continue to build. There are a lot of very significant goals to build out that production. But in order to recognize that full value, we have to understand that it's going to be volatile. You know, energy is produced by these renewable sources when the wind blows and when the sun shines. And that may not always match the demand at the time. So when there's generation of excess electricity, if we have the ability to convert that to hydrogen, and whether it's injection into the natural gas pipeline for transportation, and then certainly to reproduce electricity, or to blend it and simply decarbonize the fuel that's flowing through. The other is really on the long term of that storage. I think there was a question earlier, you know, about the effects of battery production and the environmental impact that could hold. The battery storage, you know, is there for more of a short-term opportunity. And as we view it, as we view our infrastructure, you know, the simplest way to put it is it's an underground battery. I mean, we have the infrastructure in place. It's been modernized and it can store this energy for a very long time and really move it throughout our service territories. And really the last point, you know, that I really want to hammer home here is these investments we've made over the course of time here have really set up our future. And I think it would be foolish of us to not capitalize on the ability to take a modern system that's been, quite frankly, entirely replaced in our service territories and leverage this alternative fuel source. It avoids cost to ratepayers that's unnecessary. And I think that's one of the first and foremost things that needs to be top of mind as we look at a clean energy future. We have a modern infrastructure, it's safe, it's reliable. and can handle green hydrogen. And I think it's complementary to our goals for renewable power production. And this provides a solution to recognize the full value. I know I was relatively brief, but I wanted to provide more of a perspective view on what SJI is doing and how we view that. And as Chuck mentioned, this is not something that we just see in the future. We are already committed with ASOW as part of their bid to the BPU to do a pilot project and to demonstrate that not only is this feasible, but this is something that we can continue to scale. So we are anxiously awaiting that meeting tomorrow with the BPU, and we will see if we can move forward with our demonstration project in the near term.
Hey, that's great. Thank you, Kyle, and good luck with your meeting with the BPU tomorrow. I do think this stuff is very, very valuable to all of us. And again, I think it's important for us as a country to be able to support our current infrastructure and work on future infrastructure. And I actually mentioned that to our Secretary of Transportation today, because here in Syracuse, he did a press event because we're part of an alternative fuel corridor here in upstate New York on Route 81. So lots of important people around here today. Next up is Roy Bant, and Roy works with Chart Industries, somebody I've actually done business with before. And he's been involved in the industrial gas industry for many years with propane, and is now the Director of Business Development and Sales for Hydrogen Energy. He has experience in mechanical engineering projects, large-scale project management, bulk sales management, and he is also the key account manager at Chart. So talk to us about how we move hydrogen from production to end use, Roy.
Thanks, Barry, and very honored to be here. Joanne, if you can let me know at 5 minutes, I'd really appreciate it.
Well,
Next slide, please. Okay, a little bit about Chart Industries. I have a later slide that's going to show you everything soup to nuts Chart Industries, but we are a global company, very heavily influenced in the United States, Asia, and Europe. But if you can see from the United States and all those dots, we're very heavy in manufacturing in the United States for storage and many other products, which I'll get into in a later slide. Next slide, please. So this is a pretty busy slide, but it gives you a flavor of what Chart is all about. Basically, we take hydrogen molecules produced by others from electrolysis and from SMRs, which is reformation. We take the green hydrogen from the electrolysis process, or the blue hydrogen from the SMRs, which is reformation, and we liquefy that hydrogen. For blue hydrogen, we actually have carbon capture technology to remove that carbon, so we can call it blue, from the reformation process. So basically after that, we have liquefiers, hydrogen liquefiers, and many other different types of liquefiers, including helium, but we're here today to talk about hydrogen. So we have several sizes of hydrogen liquefiers, 5, 10, 15, and 30 ton per day liquid hydrogen liquefaction. Then from the liquefaction process, we have the storage. We have standard vertical tanks. We have horizontal tanks up to 250,000 gallons of storage made and shipped in the United States. We also have the liquid hydrogen trailers to move the product. So we manufacture the equipment like the liquefaction, the distribution, and the storage. We don't operate the plants or operate the trucks, but we do everything in between. And of late, especially since the new administration, we have been talking to a lot of marine companies for hydrogen at ports and hydrogen on board ships, tugs, and other marine endeavors. I've been talking a lot to railroads. Chart also makes liquid hydrogen rail cars, which, by the way, liquid hydrogen has not been moved by rail since the late 60s during the aerospace program. So it's starting to come back. LNG was approved last year for movement by rail, and we're actively lobbying the rail industry to allow liquid hydrogen by rail once again. So pretty busy chart, but chart takes the molecules made by others, liquefies, stores, and moves that liquid hydrogen. So we're about storage of cryogenics. We do not have storage capabilities for high pressure gas. We're only liquid. Next slide, please. So a little bit about hydrogen liquefaction. As you can imagine, there is a lot of technology that goes into liquefaction of hydrogen. Liquid hydrogen at atmospheric pressure is minus 423 degrees Fahrenheit. How do we get it there? Very, very technical process, 2 refrigeration cycles, and it all involves brazed aluminum heat exchangers, which actually started Chart's business many, many years ago. These brazed aluminum heat exchangers are within the liquefiers. You see bottom left picture here. That's actually a picture of I think it's a 10 or 12 ton a day liquefier, of which the aluminum heat exchanger is an integral part of for liquefaction. So from a liquefier, typically goes into a storage container. Again, Chart makes up to 250,000 gallons. Then at our liquefaction units, we have truck filling stations for filling the trucks as well. So, some of the refrigeration cycles to get that hydrogen down to minus 423 degrees to liquefy, we have a pre-cooler, or the refrigeration #1 process, where we used nitrogen and liquid nitrogen to get that hydrogen down to a certain level in temperature. Then we have a helium or hydrogen cooling loop to liquefy that hydrogen. Of late, more and more companies are wanting to go with a hydrogen cooling cycle as well versus helium, because helium is pretty expensive these days. Next slide, please. So liquid hydrogen storage. There's been a lot of talk about, more need of storage, and what about this storage thing? You can store about 12 to 13 times the amount as a liquid versus a high pressure gas. And that's why we liquefy. So if you think about what you can hold in some of these liquid hydrogen tanks as storage, I mean, you can have several days, if not weeks, of liquid hydrogen held in some of the tanks. We make vertical tanks, we make horizontal tanks, and very large tanks down below here. We supply many, many standard tanks, 3,000, 6,000, 9,000, 12,000, 15 and 18,000 vertical tanks, and again, up to 250,000 gallons. And we also are partnered with a company that does field erected liquid hydrogen storage tanks as well. Next slide, please. Again, the future. I mean, the demand for hydrogen is growing. We are actually in the works, in the process of designing and getting ready to market rail cars for the movement of liquid by rail. Again, it has happened since the late 60s. We're looking at marine vessels for moving liquid hydrogen as well, and tugboats and other vessels to actually run on hydrogen in addition. ISO containers for movement of liquid hydrogen long distances. But again, if not all of the liquid hydrogen in the United States right now, it's moved by trucks. A little bit of pipeline in the United States, approximately 600 miles of hydrogen pipeline in the United States right now. Most of the liquid hydrogen that is utilized at the end is actually moved by trucks. Hydrogen moves coast to coast, border to border every day, typically moved by team drivers. So you'll never see a liquid hydrogen trailer sitting somewhere. It's always on the move, and in high demand. And the biggest part of our business is actually manufacturing and producing more and more liquid hydrogen trailers, leaving our facilities every day. Next slide, please. So next steps and gaps in the hydrogen space, according to me, Roy Bant. I've been in the hydrogen space since 2015. I've had the pleasure of working with a lot of folks that have taught me many things, including Chuck and Joanne. New Jersey has led hydrogen efforts. Great people, very determined, and have helped me personally and the hydrogen endeavor for many years. I would just say keep up the great support and the assistance. Number two, there is an MOU, a memo of understanding between 9 governors, and Governor Murphy had signed on to this MOU a couple of years ago about the hydrogen infrastructure, which is more pointed toward light duty, but it will impact medium and heavy duty as well. There's a lot of misnomers about hydrogen out there, and I would ask everyone, you know, the hydrogen that comes from refineries is not the hydrogen that goes into transportation. That's the hydrogen that goes into the making of other fossil fuels at refineries. You know, when we think of green or blue hydrogen, it's renewable. It does not come from a refinery. It seems to be a misnomer by many environmental groups. And when we're talking about hydrogen for transportation, marine, it's green or blue hydrogen. In your endeavors, and if you really want to stick with hydrogen and help everyone on the call here with hydrogen, utilize key stakeholders, you know, Plug Power, Chart Industries, Air Liquide, Hyzon, Hyundai, Honda, New Flyer, DOE, Clean Cities, of course, Joanne and the New Jersey Hydrogen Coalition, Charlie Myers from Massachusetts. Hey, Charlie. Charlie has been fantastic and has made some huge strides recently about getting the light duty vehicles into Massachusetts, which frankly is going to be the first state this side of the Mississippi. So Charlie has been great along with the DOE and Pete and his group and helping that endeavor, and I congratulate everyone. And again, lobby for railroad transportation for liquid hydrogen. And again, lobby for renewable power, which we're going to find out more about tomorrow. And I say, go get them. Thank you for your time.
Hey, thank you, Roy. That's awesome. I have a question for you.
Sure.
Do you, you know, I'm a Clean Cities coordinator, just like Chuck is, but in upstate New York, the other New Jersey. And first, is our governor signed on to the MOUs? Governor Cuomo signed on to that?
I believe he has.
Okay, so that's a good thing.
Barry, I'll email you the MOU, including Phil Murphy's signature.
That'd be awesome.
My point in bringing this up is, you know, our governor and our elected politicians have already signed on to the hydrogen endeavor. My ask here is let's leverage that as much as we can. Hey, you guys signed it. Join the team here and support it.
Right, I agree. And I think that the comment, not really a question I wanted to make, is that I think the Clean Cities coalitions, particularly in the Northeast where we all work, can be helpful in educating people about hydrogen standards and the safety records, all that kind of stuff. I think there's a lot to do, but I think we can really help out.
Clean Cities has already helped out, Barry. You guys have done a fantastic job and have supported the endeavor all the way through. And I welcome you guys all the time. All right.
I appreciate it, Roy. Hey, well, that kind of ends our session right here. We're going to go to the next one. We're either going to go back to Chuck for a minute, or we're going to go to my colleague, Brian Keelan.